Alright, so today we are going to be talking about taxes. Not Texas, taxes. Okay? So, taxes are what we call a necessary evil. Okay? They are something that we don't like to pay, but we have to. Okay? There's a reason we pay taxes. It's not just to make everybody sad or mad. Okay? Taxes are money people pay to support governments. Okay? So you guys benefit from taxes every day. Okay? They're just things that you don't ever really think of. So things like roads, parks, school, fire, and police departments are just a few things that taxes help pay for. So if we don't pay our taxes, then we can't have these things that we need and want. Also, if you don't pay your taxes, you can go to jail. So, not a fun thing. Definitely pay your taxes. So, there are a couple of different taxes that we're going to talk about today. So, sales tax is something that you, even as a kid, you already pay sales tax. Okay? You pay sales tax every time you buy something. So, for instance, let's say you go to McDonald's and you want to get a Sprite. That Sprite costs $1. However, you don't pay $1, you pay $1.08. That's because the 8 cents is sales tax. Okay, same thing. Let's say you go to the dollar store and you get 10 things. You would think that it would be $10, but alas, it's not going to be $10. It's going to be around $10.85 because of taxes. Okay, so sales tax is actually different in every state. Michigan, I know because I used to live in Michigan, is 7%. But Texas is 8.25%. The voters decide whether they want to raise a sales tax or lower it. Okay? The next one is income tax. Okay, so remember the word income. Income means money coming in to you. Income, come in. Okay? So it's the money that you earn doing work. Okay? So your income tax is paid when you have income. Now, if you're a kid and you're off, doing chores, you're walking the dog or you're raking leaves or, you do your chores around the house, that technically is income because that's money you earn, but you're not going to have to pay income tax on that. Okay? You will pay income tax when you get a paycheck. Okay? So when you have a job, let's say you go to, you're 16 and you go work at Kroger's and you're a bag boy at Kroger's, okay? And you start getting a paycheck. That's when you start paying income tax. Okay? You can't get away from it. You have to pay it. Okay? Comes out of your paycheck. So every month when you get that paycheck, you're going to have deductions. Okay? Items that come out of your paycheck that you don't have a say. They're going to come out no matter what. Okay? This is not the same thing as a bill. Okay? So for instance, if I get a bill in the mail, let's say I have a car payment, and I get that bill in the mail, I need to pay that bill if I want to keep my car, right? Okay, but if I choose not to pay that bill, there will be consequences for sure. Eventually I'll lose my car. Okay, but there's not going to be anybody at my door saying, hello, you're about to go to jail because you didn't pay that. Okay, it'll ruin my credit later, yes, but it's not a huge consequence in the terms of, huge fines or prison. Okay, but if you don't pay your income tax, those are the consequences. You could have to pay way more money in fines because you didn't pay your income tax, and you could have to go to jail. So a lot of you in the spring, usually April 15th is tax day, your parents will do their taxes and will sometimes get an income tax return. Okay? That is because your paycheck money that they've taken out for income tax was actually more money than the government was supposed to take from you. And so therefore when your parents do their taxes, they get money back. Okay? Some people that doesn't work. they pay their money, monthly or weekly, whatever amount, they get their paycheck in, and it's not enough. And so then in April, then that's when they have to pay more. Okay, so everybody gets income tax taken out of their check. And then April 15th, you do your taxes and you see if you're getting money back or if you have to pay more. Then we have property tax. So here's one of those multi-meaning words. All right, so property, like normally when we think of property, like I think, oh, my phone is my property, my car is my property, those are my things, right? And that is one meaning of the word. But in this case, when we're talking about property tax, it means either buildings or land. Okay? So buildings, like this school is a building. An apartment building is a building. A house is a building. Okay? Land could be land that's by itself, that you don't have anything on it. It could be a farm. Okay? So land or buildings only. Okay? And you only pay property tax on buildings or land that you own. So for instance, right now I'm living in an apartment. Okay? Yes, I have to pay rent. That has nothing to do with property taxes though, for me. So I pay rent to live there. The people that own that building have to pay property tax because they own the building. Okay? If I go and buy a house, okay, and I'm living in that house is mine, I own the house, I have to pay property tax on it. Okay? So you only pay property tax for buildings or land, and only if you own it. If you're renting to live there, you do not pay property tax. Alright, so the rest of today's lesson, we're going to be calculating sales tax. And I know that might seem like, oh man, Miss Higby, this is going to be hard. It's actually not. There's only 2 steps, okay? Multiplying and adding, that's all. Alright? So, one thing you need to know is that percentages can be changed to a decimal. Okay, this is something that you're going to learn in 6th grade, and you're going to learn how to change decimals, fractions, and percents. Okay, so 8% is the same as 8 hundredths. Okay, 7% is the same as 7 hundredths. So when we're calculating tax, we're talking about percentage, but we're going to use the decimal. Okay, so there's 2 steps. We multiply the final amount that you owe times the sales tax. Okay, so you get up to the counter and the clerk says, hey, you owe me this much. You take that amount and you multiply it by your sales tax. And then you add that amount to what your original final amount was. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that means. So you get up to the counter and the clerk says you owe $18 for your items. You know that the sales tax for your state is 7%, otherwise known as 7 hundredths. So here's your 2 steps. You take your $18 and you multiply times 700. Okay? That gives you $1.26. That is your sales tax. The second step is then to take your $18 that you owe and then add in that $1.26 in sales tax. And so what you really owe is $19.26. So in calculating sales tax, it's 2 steps. We multiply the amount times the sales tax, and then we add the amount plus the sales tax that we found. So now we're going to practice a couple of sales tax calculating. Okay, so remember, step 1, final amount, whatever that is, times sales tax. Okay, step 2, sales tax plus final amount. All right, so my final amount for this purchase is $23. for the first two problems, we are going to use 8% as our sales tax. Okay? Since we haven't multiplied decimals yet, I'm going to show you how to do this a quick way. Okay, and we'll talk more about the process, the standard algorithm of multiplying decimals, actually next week. Okay, so 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 2 is 18. Now, this is 8, but really, this is 8%. Okay? Now, I need to start here, and I need to go over 2 places to get to this decimal. Okay? So I do the same thing here. I start here, and I go over 2 places to this decimal. Okay? So this sales tax is actually $1.84. So that's the first step. My second step is to add the sales tax and my final amount. So my final amount was $23. And remember, I can write $23 like this because these zeros don't matter. And my sales tax is $1.84. We did this part last week, the adding decimals. So if I add these together, I now have $24.84. This is my final amount with sales tax. Alright, so we're going to do another problem together. So this time, the clerk tells me that I owe $14. And I'm still doing 8%. Okay? So I'm going to do 14 times 8. 8 times 4, 32. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So that's really 14 times 8 is 112. But remember, I'm doing percentages. So I need to go over 2 places. Go over 2 places. So my sales tax is $1.12. That's the first step. So my second step is to take my original $14, which remember I can write like this, and add $1.12. That means that what I really owe is $15.12. Alright, so now let's do a couple of problems where sales tax is 7%, okay, which remember is equal to 7 hundredths, okay. So I owe $22 for some books that I bought at Barnes & Noble, okay. I am going to do $22 times 7 and then change it to a percentage. Okay? So 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15. Now remember, we're doing percentages, so this I need to count over 2 places. So I count over 2 places. So remember, this is my sales tax. But if I need to use my sales tax to find my final amount, I take my $22 that I owe for the books, and I add $1.54. So really, the books cost $22, but what I really owe is $23.54. Alright, last one in this video. We're still going to stick with the 7%. So this time, I go back to Barnes & Noble and I just go all out and I buy $56 of books. And my sales tax is 7%. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 5 is 35. Plus 4 is 39. Okay? Remember, I have to count over 2 places because of the decimal. So my sales tax is $3.92. So the next step is to take my book price, which is $56, and I add the sales tax, which is $3.92. Add those together. Don't forget your decimal. And so what I really owe is $59.92. So now you're going to do a couple of practice problems with Mrs. Higgins.